Hello, Giants fans, and welcome to your Valentine's Views podcast for Monday, September 19th. Second straight victory Monday for your New York Giants as they're off to a 2-0 start for the first time since 2016. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe to support our show. If you're listening on the Big Blue View radio network, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We always appreciate your support. So thank you very, very much for tuning in. Today we have Tony DelGenio of Big Blue View here to help us chat about this unexpected 2-0 start for your New York Giants. Tony, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great this morning, Ed.
I see that. I see that little smile on your face this morning, Tony. It's a good day to root for the New York Giants.
It's been a long time since 2-0 to start the season.
It may not last. I mean, let's not get carried away. I mean, people are dreaming of 4-0 starts here with the Giants home the next 2 weeks against the Cowboys and the Chicago Bears. But first place after 2 weeks, 2-0 start seems like maybe, just maybe, this really dark period of Giants football over the last 10 years or so. Maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. So good day to be a Giants fan.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there are very few of us out there who don't realize what's actually happening with the Giants. That, they're 2-0, but they're this much away from being 0-2. A couple of things that go wrong instead of right, and they're 0-2 instead of 2-0. But the things did go right for a change, and the Giants have had a recent history when things can go wrong, they will go wrong. Now, this year so far, things are going right.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I wrote last night in my post-game reaction things I think column, is that for the better part of the last decade, we've watched the Giants find creative, ugly, insane ways to lose games, jumping offside on a failed field goal at the end of a game, jumping offside to give the Chiefs an extra chance last year, losing games on the last play on 60-plus yard field goals twice, I think, one to Graham Gano and one to Jake Elliott of the Eagles. And maybe, the last 2 weeks don't put the Giants in the Super Bowl, but what happens is bad teams find ways to lose football games. Good teams, or teams that are at least getting things turned around and getting things pointed in the right direction, they find ways to win games when things aren't perfect. And the Giants obviously have been nowhere close to perfect in 2 weeks, but they've won 2 games by a total of 4 points. And every Giants fan should take that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I think that it's time that they got some good luck. I mean, I predicted this week that they were going to win on a 63-yard field goal by Graham Gano, because I thought the Giants owed Carolina that after what happened to them in 2018 when Gano beat us with that field goal. Well, it was a 56-yard field goal. Would have been closer to my prediction of 63 if the Giants hadn't gotten 5 yards on third down before the kick. But I'll take the 56-yard field goal to win the game. And you take what you can get. I think everybody realizes that this Giants team is not your typical 2-0 team. That it's a team that's just starting, just getting going. What I think everyone is excited about, yes, the 2-0 record, but the fact that you're seeing some signs of progress. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think you're starting to see a really good defense emerge. A high-quality defense, even though there aren't necessarily that many big names.
Absolutely. I have had a hard time. I do the kudos and wet willies the morning after games, and there were a couple of standout performers this morning, in Sunday's game. But I've had a hard time really pulling out absolute standout performers on defense instead of just just giving a blanket kudos and wet willies to the entire kudos to the entire defense in both of those first two games. So, that's an indication of what you're talking about. It's not a lot of big names, but this is a defense that's buying into what Wink Martindale is selling and executing it and doing the job.
Mhm. And, I think one of the reasons it's probably hard to identify key players in every game or to even have an appreciation for what the Giants are doing is that Giants under Daboll and Kafka and Martindale are what I'm calling, the most egalitarian operated team that I think I have ever seen in the NFL. I mean, if you're on the 53 and you're active in the game today, it's a good chance you're going to get into the game, and you're not just going to sit there and rot on the bench. And so different guys are showing up, guys that were left for dead last year, like O'Shane Ximines, who after that offsides game that maybe cost us the Kansas City game last year, looked like it was the end of his career in New York. Now all of a sudden he looks like one of the Giants' best players on defense. You have people coming in, like Dane Belton getting like most of the snaps in his first game ever in the NFL. You have guys like Tomon Fox playing. You have guys like DJ Davidson getting some snaps and so on and so forth. People like Jihad Ward, who are really kind of ordinary players as far as their history goes, getting a lot of time, and somehow it's all getting put together. Somehow they're patching together the CB2 position, play to play or series to series. It seems out trying to find something that works. Sign Fabian Moreau this week. Sure, put him in the game on Sunday and let him play a significant number of snaps when you're unhappy with what Cordell Flott is doing.
You're getting opportunities. I mean, unless on Sunday your name happened to be Kenny Golladay.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about Brian Daboll, first of all. I mean, Daboll, the way I looked at it with the whole Golladay situation, Kadarius Toney the first week only playing 7 snaps. The coaches talk about building a culture. Joe Judge talked about building a culture. Everybody talks about building a culture. Brian Daboll has talked about building a culture. And the thing that I'm learning about Daboll is that Daboll, for me, the thing that I'm finding refreshing is that Daboll doesn't just talk about it. Daboll has been, from the beginning, he's had an aggressive mindset. What he says is what he means. When he says there are competitions at positions, he means that. And the wide receiver depth chart, David Sills playing 67 snaps, Sills and Richie James being the wide receivers who made the biggest plays on offense for the Giants on Sunday, shows that. Kenny Golladay with the massive paycheck only playing 2 snaps shows that. Daboll talks all the time about this being a player's game, and you have to trust the players. You have to let the players win or lose the games. And at the end of the game last night, Daboll and Mike Kafka put the game in Daniel Jones's hands, with the third down conversion. And run pass option for Jones on the sprint out. He made the right choice. He got the first down. The Giants won the game. They let Graham Gano kick a 56-yard field goal, which was, Daboll admitted, kind of longer than he had planned on allowing Gano to try to kick, but he trusted him. And and I think that's how you build a culture. You trust your players. You show them that if they work, they get an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you back up what you say with actions that allow the locker room to believe the message that you're trying to impart.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important thing too. Obviously, the Giants are not a star-driven team, and everyone, I think, on the outside especially, tries to look at teams and notice the top few players on the teams, and are they are they game changers? Are they top five at their position, and so on and so forth? Well, the Giants could be a team this year that once again has no one make the Pro Bowl. Uh, I think they might have a couple of candidates on defense, and there are players who play extremely well without playing flashy. I think Adoree Jackson's a good example of one of those players. I try to watch him now when I'm watching games, and he just does a good job of playing the receivers, but he's not a guy that's out there intercepting the ball and stuff like that. And yeah, you'd like him to, but he's a really solid player, and teams don't like to throw at him a lot. They'll always go to the other receiver. And even when the Giants had Bradbury last year, teams generally stayed away from Jackson more and tried to target Bradbury more. So he's the type of player who I think will never make a Pro Bowl, but he's a really nice cornerback for the Giants. And will any of the Giants edge players ever make a Pro Bowl? Well, there's so many big flashy talents at edge in the NFL that even when Aziz and Kayvon Thibodeau come back, it's not obvious that any Giants edge would play well enough to make the Pro Bowl. But you have all of these players who are very competent, who can contribute. Xavier McKinney, Julian Love had a heck of a game yesterday. None of these, I don't know about McKinney. Maybe McKinney can eventually be a Pro Bowl player, but I think a lot of these players aren't going to be Pro Bowl players. But the total that you get is greater than the sum of the parts so far with this team.
Absolutely. And one of the things that was noticeable yesterday, and I'm curious if it came across on television. I mean, when I drove up to the stadium, you pull into the parking lot and there's always tailgates going on, but there was kind of a noticeable difference even in the buzz in the crowd in the parking lot before the game. And Brian Daboll talked about the fact that he noticed it when he came over from the practice facility to the stadium. There was a noticeable buzz in the stadium right from the beginning. The Giants had given out those white towels that people were waving, which I love that. I wish they'd give them out every game. I think that's a pretty cool thing. It just adds something to the atmosphere in the stadium when people get fired up and get waving those things. But yeah, there was a couple of occasions where there was an undercurrent of some booze for the offense when things didn't go well. And I think that's to be expected considering the way things have gone for that offense in recent years. But I'm curious, there was a buzz in the stadium. There was an energy that players talked about. I talked to Justin Ellis about it last night, talked to a couple of other players. Graham Gano said the players were discussing it on the sideline. Just the way that the stadium felt. And I'm curious if it came across on TV, just the buzz in the stadium, something that hasn't been there for a while.
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy to tell even on TV. I mean, I heard the boos late in the first half, and I heard the tremendous cheers at the beginning of the game, and then when Jones made the first down on 3rd and 13, was it, or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, something like that. At the end of the game, he got the 11-yard run.
Yeah.
But
and that sealed the game basically for the Giants. And you could tell how much noise there was in the stadium. And I understand the booing toward the end of the first half because the offense played really poorly for actually most of the game, and but especially in the first half. And the fact is, I mean, and this is what was going through my head when Carolina came out after halftime and had that drive to go ahead 13-6. I had thought they dominated the first half, and I said, "Wow, this game is about to get away from us." And this is looking to me like the type of thing where the other team goes ahead and scores a touchdown to finally go ahead when you think they should have been ahead all along, and then the Giants get the ball and go 3 and out. Jones gets sacked 2 times. They punt the ball back to the other team. The other team drives down and scores again, and the game's over. I said we're at one of those moments in the game. Instead, what the Giants did this time is they responded to that touchdown with their own touchdown drive. their only touchdown drive of the game, and it couldn't have been more well timed than at that point, because what it did was it reestablished the mood within the stadium, I think. And I think they were about to lose the fans at that point in the game, and they didn't. They sent a message that, no, we're not going to just lay down the way some previous Giants teams seem to have.
Yeah, it was very interesting. That was a critical point in the game. I know that I had an ominous feeling about the game after the first two possessions, after the two turnovers early on. Dane Belton recovering a fumble that Carter Coughlin caused on the opening kickoff, and then the Giants recovering a fumble, on Carolina's ensuing possession. Both of those in Carolina territory, and the Giants unable to convert either of those into touchdowns. That's an opportunity for a 14-0 lead, and the Giants had only a 6-0 lead. And at that point, you just get that ominous, there's 8 points that were left on the board or left off the board. You get that ominous feeling that the Giants were going to end up regretting that, and they still found a way to win the game. They still found a way to fight through it. And like I said, the energy, people leaving the stadium last night was something that I haven't seen in MetLife for a while, and maybe an indication that this is not going to be a 12 or 13 win Giants team, I don't think, but maybe, just maybe, an indication that things are at least beginning to turn for this team.
Yeah, and me anyway, so much of it comes down to the coaching. On Twitter this morning, you're seeing a lot of stuff about the Giants, being in the running, in contention for worst 2-0 team ever, and a lot of joking around on Twitter about that. And and yeah, they're, again, they could just as easily be 0-2. But the thing that I think is always underestimated is the impact that good coaching has on teams. And to me, all the signs so far are that this is just a very well coached team. I mean, Wink Martindale is performing miracles with that defense. He's got some talent there to work with, clearly, but I think he's performing miracles, and that team is making it difficult on other teams to make plays. And you don't see the Giants getting beat a lot deep. You don't see teams converting third downs against that defense. The Giants are getting off the field on third down an amazing number of times. They're not giving up lots of points at the end of halves and at the end of games the way they were last year. Yesterday, they gave up a field goal that was inside the 2-minute mark at the end of the second quarter, but that was from a drive that had started a while longer. So a while earlier than that. And so I think people have confidence. And even the offense, which played so poorly yesterday, twice when they had to deliver something. First, early in that third quarter, the way they were able to answer back after Carolina had scored an easy touchdown against the defense. Not just a touchdown, but an easy touchdown. I think it was like 3 plays, 67 yards or something like that. And then late in the game, when so often you see the Giants not able to make a third down conversion and punt the ball back to the other team. The other team goes down and wins the game. Think of the terrible game in Philadelphia when Jones tried to hit Evan Engram with a pass, and Engram couldn't bring it in and punted back to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia drove right down the field for the winning TD. And yesterday though, and Jones, who played, I thought, overall a poor game. In terms of not making the right reads, especially in the first half and things like that, and just looking uncomfortable back there and so on. But on third down late in that game, he made a big play and the right play to really save that game for the Giants. And so in the end, really the offense and the defense contributed equally in some sense.
See, Tony, here's where I think you and I differ a little bit in terms of looking at Sunday's game. There were a lot of people, and you said you thought Jones played poorly, and I would maybe have agreed with you in the first half. And as I wrote this morning at Big Blue View, this is 2 games now where the Giants have passed for less than 200 yards. And on a week to week basis, if you're going to win, that's not sustainable the way the NFL is right now. I get that. But when I look at the way Daniel Jones played yesterday, I ended up giving Jones a Quilly, which when we do kudos and wet willies, that's sort of a that's sort of a middle ground. That's, some good and some bad. And here's the way that I looked at it in the end. Yes, Daniel Jones was uncomfortable because the offensive line couldn't block Brian Burns. They couldn't block anybody. Jones got sacked 3 times. Jones was running for his life most of the game, trying to get out of the pocket. And he was under tremendous pressure from Carolina most of the game. But I look at it this way. What have fans and the media killed Daniel Jones for 3 years? They've killed Daniel Jones for turning the football over and for making some really, really bad decisions, some which led to turnovers, and like the one he had last week. Under all of that pressure on Sunday, Daniel Jones never fumbled the football. He never threw an interception. He made one throw where I think he was trying to throw a ball away, and a Carolina defender got his hands on the ball on the sideline. But Jones really didn't put any footballs in danger yesterday, even though he was under tremendous pressure. And in the second half, when the Giants needed plays, the numbers weren't great. There weren't a lot of points. Jones made 3 huge throws, 2 to Richie James, 1 to David Sills. There was one earlier in the game to Sills down by the goal line that only ended up leading to a field goal because he eventually got sacked twice. And then when he ran for the first down at the end, people say, oh, he just ran. But he didn't just run. The Giants gave him what I had predicted. I turned to Patty Traina in the press box and I said, the play right here is to get him out of the pocket, get him outside, and give him a run pass option. And that's exactly what Mike Kafka called. He made the right decision. He got the first down. When I look at it, Daniel Jones was as responsible for the Giants winning yesterday as anyone else was with some of the plays that he made in the fourth quarter. And while the overall numbers aren't sustainable, I give the man credit because he made winning plays at the end of the game, which is what you ask a quarterback to do.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that part of it. I think Daniel Jones has the heart of a lion. And the one thing you can never question about him is his effort and his desire to win. I thought that the third down play that he made at the end was really a great decision and an amazing play by him. If you watch the tape of that play and then just stop the tape at the moment where it looks like he decided that he wasn't going to even attempt to pass, and he was going to try to run, it doesn't really look like he has much of a lane to run at all. And fortunately, he has this weird kind of athleticism to him, not athleticism the way Kyler Murray does or something like that, but he has this weird athleticism that once he gets up ahead of steam going in one direction, at least, then he covers a lot of ground in a short period of time. And I honestly, when he started to do that, didn't think he had a chance to get the first down. I think most of my complaints with Jones were in the first half, early in the game when they had the chances to get 6 instead of 3 or 7 instead of 3. And it looked to me like he was passing up reads to deeper receivers, checking down, things like that, or throwing the ball away or whatever, and that he wasn't necessarily seeing the field too well. Certainly, he was uncomfortable because the offensive line was not playing well yesterday. The offensive line was, I think, completely spooked by Carolina's speed on defense. And Brian Burns was wreaking havoc, and Frankie Louvu looked like an all-pro yesterday playing against the Giants. They just didn't know what to do with him. So I can understand why he'd be jittery back there. But I'd just like to see him make maybe quicker decisions in situations like that. Drop a couple of steps, hit the back foot, and then just throw something instead of looking for something. And that's where I'd like to see him improve.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I have to rewatch the game yet. I have not had the opportunity to do that, as I've been pumping out content for Big Blue View, and spending 2.5 hours driving home last night. So,
Yeah.
so I haven't had the opportunity to rewatch the game, but I will. And I'm sure that there are things that you can quibble with when it comes to Daniel Jones' performance, but with the game on the line, I thought that he made the plays that needed to get made.
Mhm.
We just have to hope that as things develop for the Giants here, that in the end they're able to make more of those plays down the field, that they're able to score more points. But the funny thing about it is 20 points a game, which is what the Giants are averaging after 2 games. 20 points a game doesn't look like a whole lot, but 20 points a game is 5 more points a game than they were scoring last year.
Right. And against 2 good defenses.
Yes.
To be
So signs of progress, lots of things to feel good about, but don't go and purchase your Super Bowl tickets just yet.
Yeah. The fact is, it's 2 wins in 2 weeks and 2 fourth quarter comebacks in 2 weeks. So just to to concede something about Daniel Jones, it's 2 weeks in a row that he's led the team on a winning drive with the game on the line. And
not that they put the game in his hands and he threw the ball every single time. I mean, that last winning drive for a field goal was 12 plays, 37 yards in 7 minutes. 7 minutes to go 37 yards. So they weren't. So that was not the greatest show on turf, but but I felt like he did make plays that needed to get made, at the end. And the Giants did that in general. Julian Love coming up big. It's just nice to see the Giants make plays that lead to wins for a change, instead of having those plays, made against them for a change.
Yeah, and in a game like that, a drive in the fourth quarter that takes a lot of time off the clock, first of all, gives your defense a chance to rest, and it was a warm day yesterday, I gather, at the Meadowlands, and at the Meadowlands, well, and yeah.
Well, close enough. It is the Meadowlands, basically.
Right, at MetLife, and the defense had to be getting a little tired, although Wink is always substituting guys in and out, in and out, in and out. But still, to have a long drive at the end of the game when players are probably getting tired from being out there so long in the sun, I think is an important thing. Actually, better to do that than a single 65-yard pass at that point in the game to take the lead, but then give Carolina another 7 minutes to work with to win the game. So to actually march down the field methodically and get the score with about whatever it was, 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go. I'm sorry, and leave Carolina in a difficult situation where they had to do something relatively quickly, and they might only have one chance to do it. Is I think that's actually a good thing to do. I mean, obviously in a much less important situation, but I think back to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills back in the 1990 season, where in the second half the Giants opened up with something like a 9-minute drive or something like that, and it was almost all running the game except for a spectacular catch and run by Mark Ingram to get a third down or something like that. But the Giants just like marched down the field methodically, and they just kind of Yeah, they used up most of the third quarter, and that type of drive actually is very effective in its own way because it frustrates the other team's offense because they can't get back out on the field. I think that's how Carolina must have felt during the fourth quarter in a much less high leverage situation in the second game of the season. But they're waiting to get back out on the field, and meanwhile they just can't stop the Giants. Doesn't seem like the Giants are moving the ball, yet the Giants are continuing to get first downs, and so I think it's important to have drives like that, as unremarkable as they may look.
Yeah, it's the flip side of Sunday. The one bad note from Sunday is that we saw Leonard Williams, who might be the most important player on that entire defense, go down with injury. I mean, Leonard Williams is a good player. Maybe he's not Aaron Donald. He's not Joey Bosa. He's not maybe not Myles Garrett, but he's a player who plays more snaps on that defensive line than any Giants player. He impacts the run, he impacts the pass, he makes Dexter Lawrence next to him a better player. He makes the guys in the front seven, he makes them all better players. And I think that today's a hold your breath day when it comes to Leonard Williams and that knee injury. So cross your fingers. We'll see that. We'll hope that there's good news on that front.
Yeah, I was already online looking for any word of any announcement about what the situation might be with him. But I agree.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what the announcement's going to be. If it's not Williams needs knee surgery, it's Williams is day to day.
Day, right.
He's got a knee and he's day to day.
You talked about early on about Brian Daboll, telling you exactly what he's going to do and what he means. But the one exception to that is when it comes to injuries, right? Because anybody who's not out for the year is day to day.
Everybody's day to day. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau's been day to day for a month now. Azeez Ojulari's been day to day for almost a month now. So if they're not on some sort of a list, they're all day to day.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I have to admit, I've never had appendix surgery myself, but it's hard for me to believe that you could have appendix surgery and be back on the field 11 days later. But that's one of the things they say that might possibly happen for Aaron Robinson. So I don't know whether that's realistic or just another smoke screen that's being put out there. And he's going to be shot for several.
Who knows? I'm just glad the young man's all right.
Yeah.
And the last thing, you talked about Robinson, or we mentioned Robinson. I thought Cordale Flott did okay yesterday, to be honest with you. Flott did fine in the first half. I think that what the Panthers realized coming out of the locker room was, and we couldn't really see this clearly from the press box. I think it might have been more obvious on television. I think what they realized was the kid could play, but he's still a 6'1" or so, 175-pound string bean. And if you're physical with him, DJ Moore's a big, strong wide receiver. You can run through him at this point in his career.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants did a smart thing at that point by getting him out of the game. And, it was an underrated play that I happened to mention in the locker room to Justin Ellis last night. And Ellis's eyes kind of got wide that I had even picked up on it. Early in the second half there, when Christian McCaffrey went on that 49-yard run, that looked like a touchdown at one point, but it was Fabian Moreau who hustled down the field and ran him down. And that, Carolina got 3, but that could have easily been a 75-yard touchdown run.
That's right. And it's just another piece of evidence of how Wink finds ways to get guys in there who can make plays and make that defense work. And I'm high on Cordale Flott. I just was surprised when I saw him on DJ Moore for the reasons you just mentioned. I said you really want a bigger, more physical cornerback on DJ Moore. Not that the Giants have many options there, but Moreau is a better option at that point.
Yeah. The Giants don't have one of those at this point. They really don't. They don't have that. Flott has the length that the Giants like, but he still needs to put on a few pounds. He needs to gain some strength. So So I thought he did well with that matchup in the first half, but Carolina did figure it out eventually. But anyway, Tony, a win for the Giants, and they get to look forward to a Monday night football game against the Dallas Cowboys. A game, what I can't figure out is how the Dallas Cowboys beat the Cincinnati Bengals with Cooper Rush playing quarterback. I still can't figure that one out. But the Giants will still come into week 3 with a better record than Dallas. So there's that.
Well, Cooper Rush has started one other game for Dallas, and in that game, he beat the Vikings with a last-minute touchdown drive as well. And so somehow they're not asking him to do too much, but he does have CeeDee Lamb out there. It looks like Noah Brown is turning into a nice second option for them with Gallup still out, and he can manage that team, and he doesn't do a lot of stupid things. And he didn't light the scoreboard up, but he played competently. I watch him and I say, wow, the Giants had him for a little while. And I think about
they did.
I think about some of the backup quarterbacks the Giants have had that we saw last season. I said, gee, I think
Jake Fromm. Anybody? Jake Fromm? Any memories of Jake Fromm? Anybody want to bring Mike Glennon back?
Yeah.
All right.
Easy game on Monday night. But talking about noise in the stadium, I have a feeling we ain't seen nothing yet as far as noise goes. To have Dallas coming in on a Monday night with the Giants 2-0, I think that place is going to be rocking.
Well, I'm certain it'll be rocking at the start. I know that Dallas fans travel well, and one of the things that's interesting to me is the last few times the Cowboys have come into MetLife, there have been more Cowboys fans than there have been Giants fans. I suspect that won't be the case on Monday. I'm just curious. You cross your fingers and you hope that the stadium is still rocking, from the Giants' perspective at the end as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let them be the worst 3-0 team in football.
All right, Tony, thank you much for the time. Giants fans, thank you as always for listening. Please remember to take care of each other, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.